Everyone, welcome back to the second episode. The morning sun filtered through the smoke-strewn skies, painting everything in golden. As Jungkook stood in the ruins of Eldoria, the once beautiful kingdom, Taehyung's kingdom, lie in shattered pieces like the fragment of his guilt gone. Where hid the royal robes he wore? Simple brown clothes, now dirty, stained, heavy with sweat. His palms were he shoulder raised as he didn't stop. He lifted another stone, set it on the place, wiped his forehead with the behind him. Soldiers and the workers glanced at their king walking beside them, not above them, whispering ahead. From the edge of their ruins under a clock, Taehyung, silently watching, his jaw was tight, his chest edged with something he didn't want to name. But why was Jungkook doing all this? He was the king. He didn't need to lift stones. He didn't need to bleed with, but he was. After day, Taehyung watched from the shadow. Every evening he saw Jungkook return to his tent limping. Every night he saw his bandaged hand, and not once did Jungkook complain. Taehyung couldn't understand it. He didn't want to, but today was different. He stupid forward. Taehyung, you will tear your hands open if you keep lifting stones like that. Jungkook froze. He turned slowly, surprised but calm. Jungkook, then let them tear. If pain is the price I will pay. Taehyung looked away, lips tight. Taehyung, you are an idiot. Jungkook smiling faintly for you. I have always been. Taehyung walked up to him and roughly grabbed his wrist. He yanked Jungkook's hand towards him and wrapped the cloth. It was raw, red, cracked, open up in places. Taehyung flinched. Taehyung, you are hurting yourself. Jungkook, you are hurting too, so I should be bleeding. There is. It was again the unreadable sincerity. Felt something inside him tremble. He hated this. He hated how his heart jumped when Jungkook looked at him like that. Hated how he wanted to scream and hug him all at once, but all he did was raid the clothes. Softly, I will be your fool. They stood close now, too close, and the silence was louder than any war. Tempered Taehyung, barely whispering, "You didn't. Why didn't you save us?" The question had laid in his throat for months. Jungkook, because I was weak. Because I listened to the wrong people. Because I let fear win. He looked at him with tears streaming in his lashes. Jungkook, but I'm done hiding behind excuses. I will rebuild stone by stone, and even if you never forgive me, because you and your people deserve better, you always did. Taehyung's heart stood valiantly as he looked to Kaseki. Seki, step back. Taehyung, I don't forgive you. Jungkook nodded slowly. Jungkook, I know. Taehyung, turn and leave. Taehyung, but I see you trying, and with that he walked away, leaving Jungkook standing in the ruins, but with the flicker of hope lightning in his chest. The night was thick with silence, broken only by the distant sound of soldiers walking under the dim moonlight. The camp was quieter than usual. The air still as tough, holding his breath. Jungkook turned to his tent after another long day of work. His muscles were sore, his hands, though bandaged, still throbbing. He dropped his glove on the nearby chair and gaze moved to the small coat. The exhaustion of the day weighed heavily on him, but his thoughts were still with him. Despite everything, despite the anger and hate and distance, Taehyung had said nothing earlier. I see you trying. That had been enough. It had been more than enough. Jungkook sat down on at his gut, rubbing his face, trying to push away the edge in his chest. His mind wandered back to Taehyung's words. Taehyung was angry, hurt, and justified. So, but if there was even a chance that his heart might soften, Jungkook would fight for it. Suddenly, there was a soft sound from the flap of the tent. Jungkook head snapped up, standing in the doorway, his figure cloaked by the night shadow, was Taehyung. Taehyung's usual cold gaze softened on this side slightly when it met Jungkook's. His expression was unreadable, his face partly hidden in the darkness. For a moment, neither spoke. Jungkook, what are you doing here? Taehyung stepped inside. His moment conscious, he didn't answer at first instant, looking down at the blooded bandage on Jungkook's hand. Taehyung's gaze lingered there, the anger in his eyes slowly replaced by something else, something harder to define without a word. Taehyung moved closer to Jungkook, kneeling down beside him. He reached out almost reluctantly and untied the bandage that had been unwrapped so carelessly around Jungkook's palm. Jungkook said nothing, his heart pounded in his chest, knowing what was happening but not dare to believe it. Taehyung softly, you are so stupid. Jungkook smiled faintly, his voice gentle. Jungkook, you are here, Taehyung. Taehyung shot him a sharp glare, but there was no heat in it. His fingers were tender as they cleaned the wound on Jungkook's hand. Their touches lingered for a fraction longer than necessary. Taehyung, don't mistake it this for forgiveness. I am just doing what needed to be done. Jungkook, his voice barely above a whisper, I know. Taehyung's hand trembled slightly as he wrapped the fresh bandage around Jungkook's palm. The prince brows frowned, but he said nothing. There was an air of discomfort between them, an unspoken tension neither could shake off. Jungkook watched him carefully, unable to look away. He could see it. How Taehyung was fighting with himself and conflicting emotion hidden behind the icy mask. Taehyung had been through so much, his kingdom, his people, all destroyed, and yet here he was standing to very man who has crushed it all. It didn't make sense. It wasn't fair, but it was happening. When Taehyung finished with the bandages, he pulled away back abruptly, standing up to full height. His eyes avoided Jungkook's hand for a moment. Jungkook felt a wave of despair wash over him, but then Taehyung turned to leave, his voice low, almost like a confession. Taehyung, this doesn't change anything. Jungkook felt his chest tighten. He had no illusions about what he was doing. He wasn't asking for forgiveness, not yet, but he couldn't help the hope that still clung to him. Jungkook, his voice thick with emotion, I know, but I will wait. Taehyung's back stiffened as he pushed at the flap of the tent. He didn't turn around, but his next words was barely above a whisper. Taehyung, I don't owe you anything, Jungkook. But Jungkook's smile didn't fade. His heart swelled despite the harshness in Taehyung's voice. Jungkook, maybe not, but I will prove to you that I am worth it. I will prove it every day. I will show you that I am not the man who destroy your kingdom. I am the one who will rebuild it piece by piece. Jungkook stared after him, his thoughts heavy with the weight of what he had just said. Jungkook to himself, and I will make you believe it, Taehyung. I will make you believe me. The day had turned into weeks. Jungkook's effort to rebuild Eldoria was relentless, and his action spoke louder than words ever could. Yet, despite everything, Taehyung remained distant. His anger still burning brightly. Unforgiving, unwavering, Jungkook could feel the coldness in the air every time their paths crossed, but he had made a decision. No matter how long it took, he would earn Taehyung's forgiveness piece by piece. The sun had set and the camp was quiet. Once again, Jungkook stood outside his tent, staring out of the horizon, his thoughts consumed by the same question that had plagued him since first met them. How do you fix something broken beyond repair? A voice cut through the night air. Jungkook turned to see Taehyung approaching, his expression unreadable as always. Taehyung, you are still here? Jungkook didn't move, keeping his eyes fixed on Taehyung. He wasn't surprised to see him. It was becoming a regular thing. Taehyung came to him at night, tending to his wounds, speaking his cold tones as if he could keep his emotions pushed, as if he didn't care. Jungkook softly, I am not going anywhere. Taehyung stopped in front of him, his gaze icy. There was something about the way Jungkook said those words, something raw and vulnerable, that made Taehyung hesitate. Taehyung, you think you will I'll just forgive you after everything? Jungkook took a step closer, his voice earnest, unwavering. Jungkook, I don't expect you to. I doesn't deserve your forgiveness, but I will learn it. There was a long silence as Taehyung looked away, his jaw tight. Jungkook couldn't tell if he was angry or just tired. The war had taken so much from him, the people, his kingdom, his family, and now the only person who could help him rebuild it was the very one who had torn it apart. Taehyung, his voice quieter than now, more conflicted. You think this is all about forgiveness? You don't understand what you did. You destroyed everything. Jungkook's heart clenched at the words, but he didn't flinch. Jungkook, I know, and I will never be able to undo it, but I will rebuild what I can. I will do whatever it takes to make this right thing for you, for your kingdom. Things has flickered for just a moment, and for the first time in a long time, there was a crack in the ice armor he wore, but it was gone just as quick, replaced by the coldness. Taehyung had become so good at hiding behind Taehyung. You can't fix what's broken. Jungkook took another step closer, his eyes softening. Jungkook, maybe not, but I will try. There was a brief pause, then stood frozen, staring at Jungkook as if waiting something heavy in his mind. The silence stretched between them, tense and thick. Taehyung's chest rose and fell with every shallow breath he took. His hands clenched at his sides. Finally he spoke, his voice quieter than before. Taehyung, you don't even know how to fix it. You don't understand what I have lost, what my people have lost. Jungkook swelled hard. He stood dry. He knew He knew it all too well, but there was no words that could fix it. All he could were actions. Jungkook gently, I don't understand, but I will learn, and I will listen, I will do whatever it takes. For the first time, Taehyung didn't immediately pulled away. His gaze softened ever so slightly, and his voice became a whisper tinged with something raw. Taehyung, you can't undo what's been done. Go step closer, his voice soft, his eyes full of sincerity. Jungkook, but can give you something new, something better. Taehyung's breath catch in his throat. He looked away, his hands trembled slightly, but he didn't move. Taehyung, why do you keep doing this? Why don't you just leave me alone? Jungkook's heart pounded in his chest, and he gently placed a hand on Taehyung's shoulder. His touch careful, hesitant. Jungkook, because I love you, Taehyung, and I will always have. Even when I didn't know how to show it, even when I made all those mistakes, I will never stop trying. Jungkook tensed under his touch, his body stiffened. He didn't look at Jungkook, but his voice trembled slightly as he spoke to him. You think love can fix everything? Jungkook's hand lingered on his shoulder. Jungkook, no, but I think it's the only thing worth fighting for. Taehyung turned away sharply, his coldness creeping back into his stamina. Taehyung, you are fool. But the words didn't have the same sting. They once did. Taehyung's shoulders shrugged his chest slightly as if the weight of his own words was starting to wear him out. Jungkook watched him, feeling the quiet burn of hope in his chest. Jungkook softly murmured to himself than Taehyung maybe, but I would rather be a fool who tries than one who give up. Taehyung didn't respond. Instantly he turned and began walking away, his step heavy and deliberate. But before he disappeared into darkness, he spoke over his shoulder, his voice softer now, as though unsure of what he was saying. Taehyung, don't make promises you can't keep. Jungkook stood there watching him vanish into the night. His chest tightened, but his smile didn't fade. He was far from giving up. Not now, not ever. The days in the camp had started blending together for Jungkook. He had spent every moment couldn't he could try to restore Eldoria, trying to show them that he was serious about rebuilding and the kingdom, serious about them. But no matter what he did, Theon's coldness remained. The walls around them were thicker than ever, as if Taehyung has built a fort inside his heart, and Jungkook was standing outside, helpless, desperate to get in. It was late again when Jungkook found himself standing outside his tent. The night air cooler than usual. The camp was quiet except for the rustle of leaves. He sighed, running a hand through his dark hair. There was so much left to do, so much people to care for, but it was hard to focus on anything else when the thoughts kept drifting to things. Suddenly he felt it, a presence he didn't even have to turn around to know it. It was Theon's energy was unmistakable, despite the hostility, despite the anger. Jungkook could always feel him when he was near Theon. His voice as cold as always. Still out here? Jungkook didn't turn his to face him. He just stared at the horizon, trying to study his breathing. The weight of Theon's words still like a physical burden on his chest. Jungkook, I can't sleep. Taehyung stopped a footstep drew closer, but still there was no real warmth in his tone. Taehyung, you never could. Jungkook's lips pressed in a thin line. He knew Taehyung was referring to more than just their current situation. It was bitter reminder of the past, the years Jungkook had spent in silence, watching Taehyung from afar, consumed by his own guilt and regret. Jungkook softly, Taehyung, I know I don't deserve forgiveness, but I know neither you can, neither can undo the damage I have caused. But please, he turned, then pressing Taehyung with a look of raw vulnerability in his eyes. Please don't shut me out. Let me show you that I will make things right for you, for Eldoria. Taehyung didn't flinch, didn't move. He just stared at Jungkook, his expression unreadable. It was the silence that hurt the most. It was the silence that made Jungkook feel like his effort was worthless. Taehyung, after a long, painful pause, you think rebuilding a kingdom will fix what you have done? Jungkook opened his mouth, but the words catch in his throat. No, he didn't think that. He didn't think anything could fix it, but he just wanted a chance to make things better, to prove that he was capable of being the man Theon needed. Jungkook quietly, no, I don't think it will fix anything, but it's the only thing I can do, and I will do it for you. Taehyung finally moved then, but it wasn't towards him. He stepped back, looking away, his arm crossed tightly over his chest. He was still holding onto the wall he had built to keep Jungkook out, the wall that Jungkook couldn't seem to break through. Taehyung, his voice bitter and tinged with sadness. You don't get it, do you, Jungkook heart? As he stepped forward, his voice pleading, Jungkook, I don't think, but I want to, I need to. Taehyung's jaw clenched. He looked at the ground, eyes hidden in the shadow. He didn't speak for a long time, and Jungkook felt like the air around them was thick with unsaid words that Taehyung couldn't bring himself to say. Taehyung, you killed my people, my family, my kingdom, and now you think you can fix it without the words. He took a deep breath, his voice growing quieter, softer. You are not the same person anymore, Jungkook. You can't be. Jungkook's heart slammed painfully against his ribs. He had heard the words before in his mind, but hearing them from Taehyung made them be much more real. They were an accusation, a rejection, a judgment. Jungkook, his voice almost a whisper, no, I'm not the same. I'm not the person I was before, but I'm not giving up on you. I'm not giving up on us. Thanks. I flickered for a moment, a brief flash of something softer before it vanished hidden behind the walls. Once more, he turned his back to Jungkook, his eyes barely audible. Taehyung, I don't want your apologies. I don't want your pity. I want my people back. I want my kingdom back, and I want to forget all of this. Taehyung, Jungkook stood there unable to move as the weight of those words settled in deep inside him. With he had hoped for a crack, a moment where Taehyung might let down his guards, even if just for a second, but it wasn't there, not yet. Jungkook to himself, barely audible, I will make you remember. Taehyung, I will make you remember the good things. He stood there watching the empty spot where Taehyung had stood, his heart heavy with the burden of the past and the certainty of the future. He knew it wasn't going to be easy. He knew Taehyung might never forgive him, but he also knew one thing, he would not stop trying. The tension in the camp had been building for days, a sense of bleeding danger hanging over everyone like a storm cloud. Jungkook had been working tirelessly to maintain the friendly peace between his force and the kingdom of Eldoria, but despite his efforts, things people were rising up against him. A rebel was brewing, and it was only a matter of time before everything erupted. Taehyung's absence from the camp was noticeable, but Jungkook couldn't allow himself to be distracted. He had to focus on the kingdom's safety, on keeping the people from tearing each other apart. The night of the attack, however, came swiftly. It was the ambush Jungkook had just finished. They stormed, they stormed the camp, weapons drawn, and in their eyes, Jungkook had barely managed to get his squad and stand his ground before the rebels surrounded him, outnumbering him 10 to 1. The air was filled with shouts and the clash of steel as Jungkook fought for his life. His man was being overwhelmed, and he knew it was only a matter of time before the enemy would reach him. Blood stained the ground, and the sounds of echoes in every direction. In the mid of all, Jungkook felt a sharp pain in his side, a scar slicing through his armor and deep into his skin. He gasped for breath, barely managing. His vision began to blur. The words whirled around him, spinning as the underlying wave wore off. He knew this was it, and he was about to die. But then, out of the corner of his eyes, he saw someone, Taehyung. The sight of him was blurred at first, but as he pushed through the fights and rushed towards him, Jungkook's heart stopped. Taehyung was charging through the chaos, his eyes locked on Jungkook. Determination and panic in them. Jungkook tried to call loud, but the words wouldn't come and was fading fast. Taehyung yelling above the din of the battle, "Move! Get away from him!" Taehyung pushed past the rebels with a newfound strength, fighting the way to Jungkook's side. The rebels didn't know what hit them as Taehyung's scar cut through them with deeply precision. He was forced, driven by something deeper than just anger. Jungkook's heart swelled with a mix of gratitude and confusion. Why was Taehyung risking his life for him? Taehyung shouting, "Get up! I wouldn't let you die!" Taehyung's hands were trembling as he gripped Jungkook's shoulder, trying to help him stand. But before Jungkook could speak, a rebel came from behind, aiming for Taehyung's back. Jungkook desperately no, Taehyung didn't hear him. In time, the squad struck him across his side, deep and fast. Taehyung gasped, the pain clear in his eyes, but he didn't fall. He kept his grip on Jungkook, pushing him away from the danger and urging, using the last ounce of strength to defend them both. With a single swing of his skirt, Taehyung cut down the rebel who had attacked them, but he stumbled, his legs giving way beneath him. His knees hit the ground and he collapsed beside Jungkook, blood pouring from his wound. Jungkook, too weak to stand, crawled towards Taehyung, panic rushing in his chest. He grabbed Taehyung's arm, pulling him closer, but Taehyung was losing consciousness. Jungkook, Taehyung faintly, his voice barely a whisper. Jungkook, don't fight anymore. Jungkook's hand shook as he held Taehyung, unable to comprehend what was happening. His one own life felt insignificant now. Taehyung was dying. Jungkook pleading, Taehyung, please stay with me. Don't leave me. I can't lose you. Taehyung hand weakly touched his face. Send, his touch sent a surge of warmth through Jungkook's chest, even as the blood continued to flow from Taehyung's wound. Taehyung, war doesn't give peace. It never does. He coughed, his voice shaky. I don't want to lose you. Not now, not when I finally. Before he could finish his sentence, Taehyung's eyes closed and his breathing so slowed. Jungkook's heart is shattered. Jungkook whispering frantic, no, don't you dare to leave me. Taehyung, I'm sorry for everything. Just stay with me. The chaos finally around them seems to vanish. Jungkook didn't care about the battle. He only cared about Taehyung, about saving him. Just as Taehyung's body began to go limp, Jungkook heard his name called out. Namjoon and Seokjin soldiers had arrived, and the rebels were quickly defeated, but Jungkook couldn't focus on anything except Taehyung. Seokjin rushed to them, his face pale as he saw the extent of Taehyung's injury. He immediately ordered the men to help Taehyung, but it was Jungkook who crawled him in his arms, refusing to let him go. Jungkook, his voice breaking, I can't lose you, Taehyung, please, Taehyung. Young barely conscious, his voice barely a murmur. I don't want the war anymore. I just want to be with you. Jungkook's eyes filled with tears as he leaned in, pressing his forehead against Taehyung's. Jungkook, I wouldn't fight anymore, Taehyung. I will do whatever it takes to make it right. I swear I will never let anyone hurt you again. With those words, Taehyung's body finally gave in, and he fell unconscious in Jungkook's arms. Later, as Taehyung slowly recovered in the healing tent, his words echoed in Jungkook's mind. I don't want to lose you, not now, not when I finally. Jungkook didn't fully understand what Taehyung meant, but one thing was certain. Then, now that Taehyung's heart, despite all the pain, had begun to soften, he wasn't resistant anymore, and slowly the truth began to unveil itself piece by piece. When there is one more episode left of this story, I thought to end it in two, but my health is not good, so I have to make the third part. Hope you will enjoy it. Bye bye.